Well, hello, fellow travelers. Just Jeremiah here in Honolulu. I'm sitting in the Walmart parking garage, which is weird, but I'm just looking for like a quiet spot where I can go over the occult history of Valentine's Day. So here we go. You ready? I did a lot of research and I was able to summarize this in my own word. I have no teleprompters. I'm not reading anything. I literally just absorbed all this information and I'm going to spout it out to you because I want you to learn more about some crazy things that exist and the fact that a lot of these mundane holidays actually go back to pagan rituals predating Rome. So before Rome, there was a festival called Februa. It was a spring cleansing festival that was celebrated by the pastoral societies, the farmers and such. Eventually in Rome, and even a little bit before, there was a festival called Lupercalia. Now, Lupercalia was celebrated at the same time as Februa, which the month of February had been named for, and it was celebrated from the 13th to the 15th in ancient Rome. Pausing for a second, sorry. So lupus in Latin means wolf, and as you may or may not know, Romulus was the founder of Rome, the first emperor, and he and his twin brother Remus had been as far as the stories go, they had been raised by a wolf in the wild. And it might even be a true story about two children that were abandoned by wolves that eventually the one became the leader of Rome. So that's where the Luper comes from, lupus. And during Lupercalia, which again was celebrated from the 13th to the 15th, the whole city would get super drunk and do some crazy shit. So literally the men would go and they'd sacrifice 2 dogs and a goat. The goat was in reference to the Lycian god Pan, who was that satyr, the goat body with the torso of a man. He was the god of shepherds, pastures, children, music, and honestly, if you look into it, the god of pedophilia. Sorry, I'm weird, but it's true. Now, some of you into the more spiritual circles are going to get pissed I said that, but... so they'd sacrifice 2 goats and a dog. The men they would use a knife that was soaked in milk. Then they would cut the skin into strips, these long leather thongs, and they'd cover themselves in the blood, the men would, and they would drape the skulls and the carcasses over their body while dancing through the streets naked. They'd run down the streets and they would take these long leather thongs and the women would line up. This festival was actually a spring cleansing festival like Februa, but it was actually to help expel the evil spirits and to cleanse the city, and also to help with fertility. A lot of spring rituals are based around fertility. So the women would line up the streets, everyone of every caste system from the top to the bottom. She'd line up the streets, the men would run past naked, covered in blood with the carcasses of these dead animals that they sacrificed and the skin into strips, and they would go and they'd whip all the women, and the women would willingly be whipped. Again, on this precursor to Valentine's Day. They believed that by being whipped and pursuing this, that they were helping to expel said evil spirits and cleanse the city. While at the same time, it was supposed to promise women easier childbirth so that they would have successful, bearing of children that would not end in any deaths. The women who weren't pregnant, they believed that they would actually become more fertile and become pregnant. Afterwards, the men would have a big jar that they'd fill with women's names, and regardless of whether they were married to someone, in a relationship, whatever, the men would draw in a lottery, draw names out of this jar, and the pair would go and have crazy uninhibited rough sex and spend the 3 days getting trashed off of alcohol and running through the city doing all this crazy stuff. So that was in Rome, which honestly, the modern day Orthodox and unorthodox religions, the Protestant religion, and of course the modern iteration of the Roman Empire, which is the Roman Catholic Church. That's what they're kind of a part of, and that's what Valentine's Day currently is stemming from. Eventually, Pope, I'm gonna mess this one up maybe, but Pope Constantine II, he in the 3rd century AD, he had 2 different people under the name of Valentine, and within a few years, they were executed on the 14th of February. which honestly, if you ask me, was occult ritual sacrifice. A lot of times it goes as other names, and it's just brushed under the carpet. But eventually, by the 5th century AD, we had Gelasius I. He was a pope. The first guy was an emperor, Emperor Constantine II. Gelasius I, he was the pope, and he martyrized these 2 fallen Valentines who were executed that day, and called it Saint Valentine's Day. Now the Normans, they had what's called Galatins Day, and that meant lover of women. That was on the same day. So eventually we started getting this direction towards like it being based around love and loving women. The attempt of this Gelasius II Pope guy was to basically satisfy the pagans who were going to celebrate on that day anyways, while also attempting to slowly stamp out the pagan practices by appropriating that holiday and making it a Christian holiday, because Valentine's Day was technically considered a Christian holiday by the Roman Catholic Church. Eventually, authors like Chaucer and Shakespeare, they popularized and romanticized Valentine's Day in Great Britain through their works, and the British, they would make handwritten Valentine's Day cards to share their love, give it to their sweethearts and such. Whenever that Pope Gelasius I had appropriated the old pagan holiday and let them kind of continue on doing their thing, he made sure to have theatrical representations of all that weird dark blood sacrifice and ritual animal sacrifice. He just kind of had it be like a big show that they put on as a means of still feeding those energies while getting attention away from them. Eventually, towards the modern Industrial Revolution, the people in like North America and Europe, which is where Valentine's Day is mostly celebrated, they started pumping out these Valentine's Day cards. And now today we have this holiday based around love, giving chocolates, and the color red. But the reality is that the color red is representative of the blood of the sacrificed animals that was placed over the men before they donned the carcasses of the sacrificed animals, ran around the city whipping women who were willing, and then pulling a lottery so they could go have uninhibited sex outside of their partnerships and marriages as a means of providing fertility to the city, cleansing it for the spring, and dispelling evil spirits. Isn't that some crazy shit? Look it up. I'm not even, actually, you know me, I'm not full of it, and that's what we're celebrating for Valentine's Day. So I'm not telling you not to celebrate Valentine's Day, and maybe some of you disagree with me. Usually you're the ones that aren't going to do your own research. I'm just telling you that be informed, do your own research. That's what I did. I literally studied up for hours just for this short 8-minute video so that I could share. And I don't know how open you are to this, but yeah, I plan on delving into occult topics because I'm not a part of the occult, but at the same time I run in their circles. Yeah, when I was on the road for 2 years, places like Slab City, Mount Shasta, Burning Man, the Rainbow Gathering, Sedona, Arizona. These are heavy counterculture locations that are centered around the occult. And the occult, of course, is just, it means hidden knowledge. It's just knowledge from ancient mystical societies that nowadays are just gallivanting around, masquerading as hipsters, hippies, and vagabonds. They believe in a lot of stuff. Actually, I can tell you now, but part of their belief system is the act of not speaking about their belief systems. They believe by speaking about them that it takes away their powers, which isn't throwing fireballs or creating love charms. It's literally just the power of manifestation. Remember that book, The Secret? You know how people say, yeah, let's manifest this? To them, that's the magic. And the magic exists through words and thoughts. And to be honest, yeah, I'll share it openly. I believe they didn't brainwash me. They didn't get me to join their ancient religion or their circles. I never had to do any crazy rituals or anything, but there's people in those structured societies, again, that are like masquerading as counterculture. There's people that are a part of a system of ongoing ancient knowledge that goes back to like the Gauls and the Celts of ancient Germany and Ireland. And I'm not saying I identify 100% with all of it, but if you look into the inner mysticism of every great religion, which I've been studying theology for years. I love studying futurism and ancient wisdom, and I keep it kind of secret because I don't want people to judge me, but hopefully by being able to so fluidly share the knowledge I learned about Lupercalia, you understand that I do have a high comprehension level, that I am pretty great at pattern recognition and deciding what is a bunch of bullshit on the internet and what's like actual historical facts. And yeah, there's people who I love who openly believe in the practice of magic, and I kind of do too, and I believe just believing is that power of magic, that together we're group manifesting this world, and if we choose to see it as a negative place and choose to focus on the negative, that's what we perpetuate and create. It goes back to honestly like quantum physics, the quantum observer effect. If you look hard at a subatomic particle, it reacts differently when you're observing it than when you're not. So when you're not observing it, they're saying it actually exists in every possible position that exists simultaneously. It's called the quantum wave function. I've studied up on quantum physics for years. I've read all of Stephen Hawking's books, and maybe I sound like a vain, ignorant asshole, but yeah, I'm not messing with you. When you're actually looking at a subatomic particle, all of a sudden, what they call the quantum wave field, it collapses down, and all of the infinite potentials of all the variables that it could be in, which are existing simultaneously when you're not observing it, but some sort of technology is, all of a sudden it collapses down to what you get to see. And you know, if you know about like Schrodinger's cat, whatever, it's an experiment, a thought experiment that Schrodinger had performed, where basically you have a cat in a box, and there's a laser beam shining onto a mirror, and then there's a poison cyanide gas that when the laser beam hits the mirror, there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to shoot to the button that lets the cyanide gas out to kill the cat, and then a 50-50% chance that it's not going to hit that button. So what the thought experiment says is that until you open the box to see and to observe, that the cat is both literally dead and alive simultaneously. Lastly, you've got the double slit light experiment. This was a big one, which empowered me long ago into the powers of what they call the secret. And that is the fact that if you take light and you shine it through basically a barrier where there's two slits, right? Two straight line slits. And you have this this machine shoot single photons at a time and shoot maybe 1,000 photons that are firing straight but somewhat random. That a photosensor on the opposite side of that barrier will be able to pick up where the light traveled to. And of course, common sense says it should make two lines on that photoreceptor of all the ones that weren't stopped by the barrier that made it through the two slits. Now what they realized is, just like the quantum observer effect, which it actually is, the lines were only two straight lines whenever someone was observing this double slit light experiment. Whenever they just had machines do it on their own without anyone observing, it would actually create a strip of 13 lines, with the largest in the center and smaller to the side. Now this might be too much for most of you to comprehend, but I'll do my best at verbalizing the visualization here. But if you were to imagine the same type of experiment where there's a wave being created in a pool of water, there's a barrier or a retaining wall, and there's two slits. Now what happens is this wave, this ripple, will go through those two slits, and when it hits the far wall, it'll create those 13 lines, right? Whereas with the light, the lines are bigger in the center, and this wave version, the watermark on the wall is higher in the center, and these 13 lines, it's smaller on the side. It's called a wave interference pattern. So what they're saying is that when you're not observing light, that it's literally traveling in every possible route, just the way that subatomic particle is existing in every possible state. And it's even traveling in every possible route to the point where the particle is bouncing off of itself. and creating this said wave interference pattern. I've even read studies that suggested that that the reason that light travels straight when you're watching it is simply because you expect it to. We are the projector, we are the screen, and we are the observer all together. This universe is us, you know? We are each other. We're basically, in my opinion, and I'm sorry, it's almost like I'm pushing this religion on you, because in the end that's what it is. But just as a counterpoint, if you look it up in the dictionary, atheism is a religious worldview. So please tell me that there is no God, and I'll tell you that you're pushing your religion just like the people you hate. So to continue, sorry for all you atheists, I still love you, but that's your religion. No God is your God. To me, my God is the universe. The entire universe is a living entity that's both spiritual and physical, and that is us. And in my opinion, we are God together, all of us. We're a fractured, splintered God, like the facets of a gem. And we are God trying to figure itself out through each other. We're each other's mirror. And I'm going to delve more into occult topics, and that's not going to become the mainstay of my YouTube channel, but yeah, each of the holidays coming up, I'm going to do the same oral essay, and I plan to talk more about ancient religions and sex, SECTS for all of you people who are giggling inside. If you want to hear about sex, I'll probably talk about sex a little bit too, but in a way that doesn't offend or scare most people away. Topics like sex magic. Yeah, do you want to hear about this stuff? Because my peeps most of my channels started in Slab City, and whether you know it or not, Slab City is a heavy center for the occults. And yeah, we'll talk about that more. Let me know what you think. Am I crazy? Am I full of shit? Am I misguided? Am I going to hell? What do you think prayer is? Prayer is the power of manifestation. If you look into it, occult refers to anyone who believes in powers other than physical powers that have like magical properties. And what do all religions believe? They believe that you can pray and heal someone. Religion is the occult. Sorry, I get too excited. And also quantum physics was all the pioneers of quantum physics, they were all in these secret societies of mystic orders, and they all openly studied the Vedas of Indian texts. They were all very open about it, and basically modern day science is a new way of describing the occult. Even the staff of Hermes, which all medical doctors swear on the oath of Hermes. It's the intertwining snakes with the wings above. Yeah, the snakes, each one represents the divine masculine, one represents the divine feminine, and at the points where they meet, there's 7 of which, those are the 7 points of your chakras. You've got your root chakra, down towards where a man's prostate is, or the bottom of the pelvis. You've got your, oh man. I'm gonna skip that, I'm gonna sound dumb. I'd rather say nothing than make a mistake. You've got your crown, you've got your third eye, your pineal gland, which ironically is the only non-dualistic brain structure you have. And now that they're studying quantum biology, they're realizing that quantum entanglement, which is another topic, it's where information is passed faster than the speed of light between 2 particles that have been aligned through a laser beam. They notice that quantum entanglement happens naturally in cells, specifically in the non-dualistic parts. So it's funny that the only part of our brain that lacks a symmetrical pair is our third eye, as they've called it, or our pineal gland, the spot that creates DMT for any of my Joe Rogan's fans. And that's what connects us all partially. You've got your throat chakra, your heart chakra. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got your solar plexus. What's the 7th one? Come on, some of you have the knowledge. I'm sorry, I should have done. This was supposed to be just a Valentine's Day thing, but I just thought I'd delve in a little bit deeper. And yeah, so the medical staff of Hermes, which you'll see everywhere, the wings represent the spiritual, the snakes represent the physical. We're talking about dragon symbology, serpent symbology. It exists in all cultures around the world. The feathered snake, Quetzalcoatl from the Mayan and the Aztecs. You've got the dragon of Eastern culture, the dragons of Western culture. You know, the stories of knights slaying the dragon, that actually has hidden symbolism referring to the act of achieving the higher self through the hero's journey, which is what, I'm not saying I'm a hero, but that's what my journey is, and that was my reference originally. The whole time I've been planning to delve into these topics, but I've been afraid. I've been waiting till I got just enough a few people that once half of you get scared away, I still got some peeps. So let me know what you think. I'm running short on time again. I'm gonna have to buy more memory cards, but I have the funds to now because my landlord can't take anything more from me. And yeah, today the court date went well. I got a continuance because he wasn't ready. He was stuttering, he was stumbling, he was lying. I can prove his lies. His body posture was off, and this homeless guy right here looks so much better. I only spoke when spoken to. I held my head high, great body posture, looked the judge directly in the eyes, and I could just see from the judge his sentence was already made. They hate that landlord, and they feel bad for me. And tomorrow I get to go get all my possessions, at least the ones that weren't stolen, and in a separate case, I'll get to go and sue the shit out of this guy for everything. And some of it's going to overlap because I'm still getting compensated. The 17th of next month, I'll be getting the $1,600 representing 2 months' rent, which Hawaii enforces being paid after a person is illegally forced out of their house. I'm also going to get money for the lawyer. He's going to have to pay for the lawyer. Any costs that I paid, this is all given. Things are looking up. And I believe it's because of the manifestation which you have helped me through your positive outlook of me and feeling and believing that I deserve the best, and my family and my friends and everyone else that sends me positive energy. When we do that, we literally call that version of the universe into existence. So thank you so much. I love you all. Thanks for letting me share some weird stuff. I will definitely be getting more into it, but it won't become the majority of the topics. It's just going to be something on the side. Please let me know what you think, because I'm a little nervous. This is the big occult debut. Just Jeremiah's Journey is a little bit more than you realize, and I've got some deeper topics that I've literally been researching and exploring and following while on my YouTube, almost using the YouTube as a means of hiding in the mix, while I'm also open to them about it. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the past 2 years learning from the occult and ancient mystical societies that still exist. Esoteric knowledge, it's hidden. It's not for the masses. The masses are, you know the bell curve. Like 80% of people have 100 IQ. 20 points lower is mental retardation. Up on the higher end, gifted is that. Genius is twice the difference. So people of average intelligence, 80% of the world, they're literally twice as many points lower than a genius, than a person who is mentally retarded is from the average person. This information would be misconstrued by the masses, and they wouldn't understand it, but from what I've heard, some people believe that we're coming up on an age where this esoteric knowledge will be called out to the forefront, and the internet is part of that. You look on the internet, so many spiritual groups on there. Yeah, I'm going to be a part of it without giving up any of my power. I'm not going to tell you what I'm trying to manifest or the things that I believe in fully. But yeah, again, even the Native Americans, they never wrote down their histories as far as their knowledge goes in these topics. Same with the Gauls and the Celts, the Druids and the Magi. These are real orders that existed in ancient Europe, and they literally guided and controlled the kings and queens. They're still doing it today. Now it's Silicon Valley. Those sigils, those symbolic patterns they wrote to focus their energy in blood and sand and in stone, those are the same patterns that are now in computer chips. They're just energy flowing. That's what's creating this cell phone that lets me put this facsimile of my face and voice onto your phone. Even CERN, which is the particle accelerator in Geneva, that is run 75% by American scientists, but there's a statue to Shiva out there. All the people who started CERN, they're all heavy into the occult and heavy into the side of the occult of the ancient mysticism. They're doing some darker stuff, in my opinion. If you look into it, the Mandela effect didn't start being researched on the internet until 2012 when CERN came online. They're trying to create the Higgs boson particle, which is when they fire two single particles like a photon or an electron around a giant 26-kilometer wide circular track under the Earth. And when they smash together, they create like a mini black hole, this Higgs boson particle that they're studying. And if you ask me, they're trying to open up portals or vortices as a means of perpetuating stronger manifestation, and also trying to contact, sorry, but interdimensional beings, which is what aliens might be. Honestly, they might not be from another planet. They're trying to get power and information in order to strengthen their power and their grip in the stronghold, and I don't think it is for good purposes. So there are the light and the dark occults, and there's even parts that practice and embrace duality, either through coming together themselves into a group and practicing duality, or as Aleister Crowley did in the Zeitgeist movement, trying to harness duality in their own by practicing good works, by practicing the light out in the open, and practicing dark works. They prefer dark and light, not good and evil. Practicing dark works behind closed doors, all that weird dark shit you hear rumors of where someone's labeled an alt-right conservative if they mention them. I don't think it's like Democrats doing that shit. I think it's the big top corporate elite, the government elite, the military elite, just the big guys. You know, just because your Aunt Sally files paperwork for the state government doesn't mean I think she's part of some dark occult that's trying to take over the world. But I literally believe that we're in a battle between the dark and the light, which has existed for eternity. In movies like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all these other things, they have what's called what's that? Man. Whatever. Yeah, they're showing all these things purposefully for whatever reason. I'm rambling on way too much. I hope you like this video. Hopefully it meets the deadline at noon. It's probably noon now here in Hawaii, which means it's gonna be late, unless my 5G goes quick. Love you guys, honestly. If you're still watching this, you're fucking awesome. Bye.